They say every town has its secrets, but Briar's Hollow didn't have secrets. It had sins buried so deep the ground itself didn't want to remember. But on the day Thomas Hale married his daughter, the dead decided they were done staying. Quiet. It started with a storm, not the kind that shakes windows and floods roads. This one was quiet, creeping, and mean. The sky had turned the color of old bruises, and the air hung heavy like something was about to snap. Folks in town felt it in their bones. Even the birds had gone quiet that morning. Briar's Hollow hadn't seen a real scandal in decades, not since the mayor's son was found dead behind the old train station, but that was child's play compared to what was coming. Thomas Hale stood on the church steps, dressed in a tailored grey suit, the same one he wore when he buried his wife 20 years ago. His hands were calm, steady, like this was just another Saturday. He looked out over the rows of folding chairs, the small crowd gathering, whispering behind programs, pretending to care about etiquette when everyone there had come for the same reason, to see if the rumors were true. Beside him, Lily Hale adjusted the hem of her dress, white, silky, and painfully familiar. It had once belonged to her mother, Eleanor Hale, the woman who died giving birth to her. Townsfolk had always pitied little Lily, raised without a mom, clung to her father like glue, and now she was about to marry him. The invitations hadn't been fake. The wedding was real. Legal loopholes or not, somehow Thomas had managed to pull it off. No one knew how. He just did. People told themselves it wasn't what it looked like. Maybe it was some symbolic gesture, a performance, a will-related stunt, anything but the truth that crawled through their minds like rot. Inside the church, whispers hissed through the air like smoke. Is this even legal? She looks like she's in a trance. Did she want this? God's gonna strike that altar. The preacher, a frail man in his 70s with shaky hands, stood at the pulpit, wiping sweat from his brow. He looked like he might collapse before they even got to the vows. But he hadn't said no when Thomas asked him to officiate. Nobody said no to Thomas Hale, not in this town. The ceremony began. Music played. Not the usual kind of wedding song, though. It was something slower, older, like it belonged to a different era. Lily walked down the aisle alone, clutching a bouquet of dried white lilies, their petals almost grey. She didn't smile, didn't cry, just walked like she was sleepwalking. Like this was fate she couldn't escape. When she reached the altar, Thomas took her hand and kissed her knuckles, gently. His eyes never left hers, even as the preacher mumbled the first few lines of the ceremony. The words echoed awkwardly off the walls. We are gathered here today to witness the union of Thomas and Lily Hale. Somewhere in the back, someone scoffed. Another person walked out, but they didn't stop. The preacher's voice trembled more as he pressed on, each vow sounding heavier than the last. Lily's voice was barely a whisper when she repeated her parts, like she didn't believe the words coming out of her own mouth. Then came the moment. If anyone here objects to this union, speak now or forever hold your peace. The silence that followed wasn't natural. It was tense, stretched, tight like a pulled thread. And then, boom! The church doors slammed open so hard they shook, the stained glass windows. The wind howled through the chapel like something had followed her in. A woman stood there, soaked pale, eyes wild and red, dressed in torn clothes and barefoot, as if she'd crawled out of the woods. Her lips trembled, her chest heaved like she'd run for miles. But the most shocking thing wasn't her condition. It was that she looked exactly like Lily, older, harsher, but unmistakably her. Gasps spread like fire. A few people stood. One woman screamed. The strange woman pointed a trembling finger straight at Thomas. "That's not your daughter!" she shouted. Her voice cracked, but it thundered louder than any storm outside. "She's not who you think she is." Thomas didn't move. He just blinked once, slowly. Then he said quietly, like a man watching the past crawl up from its grave, "You weren't supposed to come back." The air inside the church was frozen. People didn't move, didn't breathe. The only sound came from the soft dripping of water from the stranger's dress, puddling on the old wooden floor. Lily turned around slowly, her face pale but unreadable. Her lips parted like she wanted to speak, but nothing came out. She just stared at the woman, her twin, her ghost, her mirror. Thomas didn't look surprised, not even angry, just exhausted, like a man finally being forced to confront the one thing he had buried so deep, even God might have forgotten it. The preacher backed away from the altar. His voice cracked. What's going on here? The woman didn't move. That man standing there, he's not her father. He's mine. A wave of confusion rolled over the room. What do you mean? Someone whispered. Thomas finally stepped forward, raising one hand like he was trying to calm a wild animal. You don't need to do this. But the woman didn't flinch. I have to. You made me disappear. You told the world I drowned. You buried me under her name. Lily stepped back, her bouquet falling from her hands. What are you saying? Thomas closed his eyes for a long second. When he opened them, his voice was flat. Her name is Iris. The church gasped again. A wave of murmurs swirled through the crowd like smoke. Lily turned to Thomas, voice cracking. Who is she? What is she talking about? Thomas didn't answer. Iris stepped into the aisle. Her soaked dress clung to her skin, and her eyes locked onto Lily's with the kind of pain that only came from betrayal stitched over years. I'm your sister, she said, tears welling. Your older sister. I was born first. That's not possible, Lily whispered. He told everyone I died, said I wandered off one day and they never found me. The town searched, there was a funeral, but I was alive. I was just locked away. Out of sight. Out of memory. Thomas clenched his fists. Stop. No, Iris snapped. They deserve to know. She deserves to know. The preacher stepped forward, sweating, confused. Thomas, what is she saying? Is this true? Thomas didn't deny it. He just looked at Lily. You were never supposed to find out. Lily looked like she might collapse. And what do you mean? How could you lie to me like that? I don't even know who I am anymore. She's your blood, Iris said. And you were raised in her place. What are you talking about? Iris pointed at the veil on Lily's head. That's my mother's. That dress, it was mine to wear. He took everything from me. Now everyone was standing. Some were crying. Some were just in shock. This wasn't a wedding anymore. It was a courtroom, a crime scene. Lily clutched her chest. You're saying I'm not who I thought I was? You're Lily, Thomas said quietly. But Iris was born first. You were just the one I kept. Why? Lily asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Why would you do that? Thomas looked down at the ground like it might forgive him, because she saw something she wasn't supposed to, something I did. That made the room go still again. Iris's eyes narrowed. Tell her what you did, Dad. Thomas looked up slowly. His voice dropped low, trembling now. I killed your mother. You could have heard a pin drop in that church. The word killed echoed like a curse. Lily stepped back like her father had physically struck her. Her knees buckled, and the preacher rushed to steady her, but she shrugged him off. She didn't want comfort, she wanted answers. What did you just say? She whispered. Thomas didn't speak. His eyes stayed locked on the floor like it held all his guilt. Iris didn't hesitate. He's been hiding it for years. Everyone thought our mother died during childbirth. That's the story he told. But I remember. Lily's voice cracked. You were a child. I remember. Iris snapped, stepping closer. I saw her lying there in the bathtub, water tinted red. She wasn't breathing, and he was just staring at her, like it was nothing, like he was deciding whether to bury her or burn her. Thomas's voice came out hoarse. That's not what happened. You want to correct the details now? Iris shouted, tears burning her cheeks. Go ahead. Tell everyone how you did it. Tell her why you killed the only person who ever loved us. People in the pews stood stunned. No one knew whether to run or call the police. Some started filming. Others whispered prayers under their breath. Lily stared at her father. No, the man she once called her father, with tears welling in her eyes. Tell me she's lying. He looked up at her. His face was worn, pale. There was no anger left in him, just the deep, hollow sadness of someone who had run out of excuses. "She found out about me," he said finally, "that I was touching things I shouldn't have, saying things I never should have said. She was going to take you both. She was leaving." A cold wave passed through the room. "I didn't mean to kill her," he whispered. "It just happened." Iris covered her mouth, choking on a sob. Lily looked like she couldn't breathe. "So you killed her, and then locked Iris away?" He nodded slowly. "I panicked. Iris saw everything. She was too young to tell. The story right, but I knew if anyone believed her, I'd be finished. So I told people she'd wandered off into the woods. I buried a doll in the backyard, held a funeral. The preacher sat down in a pew, like his legs gave out. Thomas went on, voice dull and broken, "But I couldn't do that to you. You were a baby. You didn't know anything. You didn't judge me. You just smiled. I needed something pure, something untouched." Iris laughed bitterly. "You mean someone who didn't know the truth?" Thomas looked at her. "You weren't the same after that day. You hated." "So I was 8 years old," she screamed. "You murdered our mother and made me live in silence for years. You drugged me, locked me in that basement, and told the world I didn't exist." The room erupted. People gasped, some cursed. A few even left, unable to stomach what they were hearing. Lily turned to Iris, her voice trembling. "How did you get out?" "I escaped 3 years ago," Iris said. "He didn't think I'd survive. I ran, changed my name, lived on the streets for a while. No ID, no proof of who I was. I had to wait until I found someone who'd listen, someone who'd believe me." She pulled a folded paper from her coat and handed it to Lily. It was a DNA report. 2 names, Lily Hale, Iris Hale. Match, sisters. 99.9% probability. Lily's hands shook. Her heart felt like it was collapsing in on itself. Everything she knew, every bedtime story, every birthday, every tear her father wiped away, was a lie wrapped in a crime. She dropped the paper, looked straight at Thomas. "You were going to marry me, knowing all of this?" His lips parted. No words came out. Because the truth was, yes, he had. And for the first time in her life, Lily didn't feel like his daughter. She felt like his next victim. Thomas didn't move as Lily stared at him like he was some kind of creature, dragged out from under the floorboards. The same hands that used to braid her hair were the same ones that had taken her mother's life. The same man who tucked her in at night had planned to kiss her at the altar. The silence in the church was sharp, electric. People didn't know what to do, stay seated or call the sheriff. Some were still stuck between disbelief and horror, hoping it was all part of some sick prank, but it wasn't. This was real. Thomas finally raised his head, voice hoarse like gravel. "I never laid a hand on you, Lily. I swear to God." "You were about to marry me," she hissed, her hands trembling. "Do you even hear yourself?" He stepped closer, but she backed away so quickly she nearly tripped. Iris caught her before she fell. "Don't touch me," Lily breathed. "Don't ever touch me again." Thomas's face twisted, not with anger, but with something worse. Desperation. He wasn't trying to defend himself anymore. He was pleading. "I loved you," he said. "I raised you, protected you. I gave you a life. A life built on a grave," Iris snapped. "I didn't plan to fall in love with her," he said, his voice cracking. That silenced the room again. Lily blinked. Slowly. "What did you say?" Thomas took a deep breath. "You were everything. You didn't judge me. You didn't scream. You didn't see me the way Iris did after Eleanor died. You made me feel like I could be forgiven. So you convinced yourself that meant we could be together," Lily whispered, horrified. "I didn't mean for it to go that far. I thought if I could make things right, really right, it could erase everything I did wrong. Marrying you, it was going to fix it all." Iris stepped forward now. "You wanted to bury the past by making the present even more disgusting." Thomas's gaze flicked to her. "You never forgave me. I wasn't supposed to," she snapped. "I was supposed to make sure you never did this again." Someone in the crowd stood up. It was Mr. Aldridge, the town's mechanic. I don't know what the hell I just listened to, but someone needs to call the police. Another voice piped up. The sheriff's already outside. He came when the power flickered. Something about a call from the church. Thomas heard that and he froze. He looked at the church doors like he was staring down his own execution. Then he moved fast. Too fast. He reached behind the altar and pulled something. Out, a pistol, small, old, but deadly. The gasps and screams were instant. People dove. The preacher fell flat on his stomach. Chairs clattered. Thomas didn't aim it. Not yet. He just held it up, breathing hard. Nobody move. Nobody try to be a hero. Lily went stiff. Iris stepped protectively in front of her. "You think this ends here?" Thomas shouted, voice ragged. "After everything I've done to keep it together, after all these years, you think you're just going to expose me and walk out?" The doors opened again, and there he was, Sheriff Darnell, a tall man with a square jaw and a pistol all ready. Drawn stepped into the chapel, aiming straight for Thomas. "Put it down, Hale, right now." Thomas's hand shook. "You don't get it. None of you get it. She was the light in my life, the only thing left that didn't hate me." "You turned that light into a cage," Iris spat. "You broke everything you touched." "I loved her," Thomas whispered. "You owned her," Lily said, voice full of venom. "And now I want nothing to do with you. Nothing. You're not my father. You're a monster wearing his face." Thomas closed his eyes for one long moment. Then he opened them, looked at her one last time, and for the first time, he didn't seem angry or sad. He looked hollow. "I'm sorry," he whispered. Then he raised the gun, not at them, but at himself. "No!" Iris screamed, but the shot rang out, and Thomas Hale collapsed on the altar he built for his sins, his blood mixing with the lilies at his feet. The shot echoed through the church like thunder. People screamed, someone fainted. Others scrambled to get out. The preacher clutched the pulpit, shaking, whispering prayers too fast to understand. Blood was spreading beneath Thomas Hale's head, slow and dark and final. His body lay limp across the altar, like an offering no one had asked for. Lily didn't scream. She didn't cry. She just stood there staring as if her brain had shut off the part that processed grief. Or maybe it was trying to figure out how to grieve for someone who'd been a monster all along. Iris moved fast. She grabbed Lily by the arm and pulled her toward the exit, before the chaos swallowed them up. "Come on," she said. "We can't stay here." The sheriff called for backup. He was already on the radio, trying to keep people from stepping on the crime scene. But his eyes followed the girls. He didn't try to stop them, not yet. Maybe he knew they'd been trapped long enough. Outside, the storm had rolled in proper. Rain poured sideways and wind lashed through the trees like nature itself was pissed off. They didn't run. They just walked, soaked within seconds past. Rows of parked cars and people staring from behind wet windshields. Iris's grip on Lily's hand was tight, like she thought if she let go, the girl might disappear again, just like the truth had for so many years. They made it to an old pickup, parked near the end of the lot. Iris opened the door, shoved Lily inside and climbed in after her. Lily sat in the passenger seat, staring straight ahead, shaking but silent. "You okay?" Iris asked. She didn't answer. Not for a long while. Finally she spoke. "I can't even hate him. Isn't that sick?" Iris looked over. "You don't have to hate him. You just have to know what he was. That's enough." Lily's lips trembled. "He raised me. He kissed my forehead every night. He used to braid my hair and sing to me when I had nightmares. He was your jailer," Iris said. "He made sure you never had a reason to leave. That's what abusers do. They give you just enough love to make you feel like you owe them." Lily looked down at her hands. "Why didn't I see it?" "Because you were just a kid," Iris said. "You only saw the world he wanted you to see." Lily finally looked at her. "How did you survive?" Iris's jaw tightened. She looked out the windshield, rain running down the glass in streaks. "You don't survive something like that," she said. "You just carry it." For a few minutes, neither of them spoke. The sound of rain filled the truck like static. Then Lily asked, "What happens now?" Iris sighed. "Now the town's going to bury him like a bad dream and pretend they didn't all sit in those pews and clap when he kissed you." Lily flinched. "I'm sorry," Iris added, "but that's the truth. People would rather erase you than admit. They ignored the signs. Lily nodded slowly. I don't want to go back to that house, not ever. You won't, Iris promised. But where will we go? Iris paused. Wherever we want. That was the first time Lily's expression changed. Just a flicker of something in her eyes, like hope, tiny and bruised, trying to rise. Are we really sisters? Lily asked. Same mum, same nightmare. Lily leaned her head back against the seat. You're the only real thing I have left. Iris smiled weakly. Then we start over. Together. 3 days later, Thomas Hale was lowered into the ground. The funeral was small, quiet. No one cried. No one said much of anything. The town just wanted to forget, wanted to sweep the whole mess under the rug and pretend it never happened. That's what Briars Hollow did best. Denial was its favorite. Religion. Lily didn't go, neither did Iris. They spent the day in silence, holed up in a cheap motel just outside the city limits, curtains drawn. TV off, a single lamp glowing in the corner. The air smelled like bleach and old carpet, but it was safe, and for now, that was enough. Lily sat on the edge of the bed, knees hugged to her chest, her mind running in circles. Iris sat at the table, with a notepad and pen, writing things down, things they'd need to do, names to contact, lawyers, journalists, therapy clinics. I need to go back, Lily said suddenly, her voice small. Iris looked up. Back where? The house. Iris froze. Why? There's something I need to see for myself. No, Iris said flatly. There's nothing in that house but ghosts. Lily looked at her. Then I need to see them. Iris stared for a long moment. Then she nodded. Fine. But I'm going with you. They waited until dusk. Drove in silence. The road twisted like a snake through the woods, familiar and rotten. Lily watched the trees blur past the window, heart pounding harder with every mile. The house stood just as they'd left it, tall, tired, paint peeling in, strips, porch light still flickering like it hadn't decided whether to die or not. The same house where Lily grew up thinking the world was simple and good. The same house where Iris had been hidden, forgotten, like a shameful secret. They didn't knock. No one was home anymore. Inside, it was exactly as Lily remembered it. But colder. The kind of cold that doesn't come from the weather, but from things that were never meant to be disturbed. She walked slowly through the living room, her eyes landing on picture frames. Her and Thomas at a school play, her graduation, a Christmas morning photo, fake snow sprayed on the windows. All smiles, all lies. Iris followed close behind, eyes darting, tense. Where are we going? She asked. Lily didn't answer right. Away. She moved to the hallway, to the door at the end, the basement, the one she never entered without Thomas beside her. He always told her it was full of old junk and warned her not to go down there alone. But now she was alone, and she wanted to know why. The stairs creaked under their feet as they descended, one slow step at a time. The smell hit them first, damp, old wood, rusted metal, and something else, something wrong. Iris stopped. Her face went pale. What is it? Lily asked. I know this smell, Iris whispered. It never leaves your nose. They reached the bottom. A single dangling bulb buzzed above, casting a sickly yellow light over the room. What they saw made Lily drop to her knees. Along the walls were drawings, childish, scribbled in crayon and charcoal, dozens of them, some torn, some stained, all showing a girl behind bars, a girl with brown hair and sad eyes, a girl screaming without a mouth. That's me, Iris said softly. In the center of the room sat an old iron bed, straps still attached to the sides. A heavy metal door leaned against the wall, its bolts rusted. Journals were stacked on a nearby table. Lily opened one, her hands shaking, her father's handwriting. Iris won't stop screaming. Tried the pills, she spit them out. Lily's quiet. She listens. She trusts me. Page after page of madness. Lily stumbled back, her stomach lurching. This is where he kept you, she whispered. For years, Iris said. until he decided I wasn't worth hiding anymore. They didn't stay much longer. They took the journals, the drawings, the proof, packed it into a box, locked the house behind them, and left for good. As they drove away, Lily didn't look back. Not at the house, not at the town, not at the grave her father now rotted in. For the first time, she felt something close to clean air in her lungs. 2 weeks later, the story hit national news. It started as a local article, small-town horror. A tragedy behind church walls, one headline said. But then the details leaked. Father marries daughter, sister interrupts wedding, suicide. At the altar. Decades of abuse, hidden child, dead mother. And suddenly every news outlet wanted a piece of the story. Talk shows, podcasts, crime documentaries. They called it the Hale Wedding. A twisted fairy tale people could gawk at from the safety of their screens. But for Lily and Iris, it wasn't entertainment. It was their life, smeared across tabloids, torn apart by strangers. The media tried to paint Lily as a victim, yes, but also a curiosity. How could she not know, they asked. How could a girl fall for the man who raised her? No one seemed to understand how grooming worked, how isolation felt, how love and manipulation could blur so completely you didn't even see the bars around your life. But Iris understood. She sat beside Lily during every interview, her hand firm over her sister's, her voice steady, sharp. And when people questioned Lily's story, Iris answered for her. She was a child, she told one host, eyes hard. He built a world so carefully, so perfectly, that she couldn't see the outside of it. That's not her fault. That's his legacy. Still, the internet was brutal. Photos of Lily in her wedding dress went viral. People made memes, jokes, conspiracy theories. Some called the girls liars. Others accused them of faking the whole thing for fame. It nearly broke Lily all over again. One night, she sat alone on the motel balcony, smoking a cigarette she couldn't even finish. Her phone buzzed with another cruel message, another twisted comment. She stared at the screen until Iris came out and gently took it from her. "Don't read that stuff," she said. "They hate me," Lily whispered. "I didn't even do anything, and they hate me. They don't hate you. They hate the mirror you're holding up to them. You remind them how fragile innocence really is." Lily didn't reply. Her eyes were tired, sunken. She hadn't slept much since the wedding. The world might have learned the truth, but it still didn't feel like justice. Then Iris did something she rarely did. She opened up. "I had a dream last night," she said. "You were little again, in pigtails. We were playing in the garden. Mom was there." Lily looked over. She was humming to herself, planting tomatoes. "You kept asking her if the plants would turn red overnight." She said, "Only if you sing to them." And then you did. You sang to the dirt. Lily smiled faintly. "I don't remember any of that." "You were too young," Iris said, "but it happened. Before everything turned to poison, there was this one summer. We were a family, a real one." Lily leaned her head on Iris's shoulder. "I wish I could remember that." Iris looked at her, her voice a whisper now. "Then let's build something better. Not just for us. For her. For Mom. For all of us." 2 days later, they went live. Not on a talk show, not for some tabloid, on their own terms. They posted a video, unfiltered, raw, just them in front of a camera. Lily spoke for the first time. "I was raised by a man who said he loved me. But love shouldn't cost you your voice or your freedom or your truth. This is not about revenge. This is about reclaiming who we are. And telling every girl out there, every boy too, that silence is not protection. That even if no one believes you at first, the truth has a heartbeat. And it doesn't stop." The video went viral, but not in the way the tabloids did. People started to listen. Survivors reached out. Strangers donated money. Advocates offered shelter, legal support, therapy. The girls weren't freaks anymore. They were witnesses. Lily still had nightmares. So did Iris. But now they were building something new together. A future where their names didn't just live in scandal, but in strength. Spring came late that year. Briars Hollow tried to clean itself. The church got repainted. The mayor gave a bland statement about healing. People whispered less. The town wanted to forget. But Lily and Iris didn't. They moved to a small town 2 hours south where no one knew their faces or the name Hale. They changed their last names, rented a little yellow house with wild grass and a fence that needed fixing. But it was theirs. It took time to breathe like real people. For weeks, Lily flinched at every knock, couldn't walk past mirrors without checking her face for shame. She still wore long sleeves, still feared judgment in strangers' eyes, even when those strangers had no clue who she was. But healing doesn't arrive in big, cinematic moments. It comes in sips. A day with no headlines. A meal they both finish. A night without waking up screaming. They planted tomatoes in the backyard. Iris bought the seeds, Lily dug the holes. Neither of them really knew what they were doing, but the process was honest. Hands in dirt, sweat on skin, roots finding home. "I think Mom would have liked this," Lily said one afternoon, brushing soil from her hands. "She would have," Iris replied. "She would have loved seeing us finally free." They didn't talk about Thomas much. He became a shadow that stayed outside the house, where they couldn't hear him, where he didn't belong. They got therapy, separately at first, then together. Lily learned that she wasn't broken. That trauma didn't make her weak, and surviving it didn't make her guilty. She cried a lot in those sessions. Sometimes she screamed. Sometimes she sat in silence for the full hour. But every week she walked out feeling a little more like someone real, someone separate from him. Iris learned how to breathe without being in survival mode. She'd spent her life fighting, watching, waiting, always alert, always braced. She didn't know how to live any other way. But slowly, she started sleeping through the night, started letting her guard down, started laughing again. They still had their scars, but scars meant they'd healed from something. One day, a letter came in the mail from a girl in Kansas who had seen their video. It read, "I thought I was crazy. My dad did things he said were love too. But after I saw you speak, I told my mom. She believed me. You saved me. You saved my life." Lily read it 3 times, hands shaking. Then she cried, not from pain, from pride. They framed the letter and hung it by the front door. It reminded them that what they lived through wasn't just a horror story. It was a warning, a wake-up call, a lifeline. One morning, Iris walked into the living room and found Lily at the window, sipping coffee, watching the sun spill over the grass. "You okay?" she asked. Lily nodded, a little smile pulling at her lips. "Yeah," she said. "I think I'm going to be." Outside, the tomatoes were starting to bloom.